Hi, welcome to Digging to China. I'm Dong Sean. Before I delve into today's topic, I want to share an important update, particularly relevant for foreign individuals planning to travel to or visit China. From July 1st onward, there is a new caution. As reported by Chinese media, travelers arriving in China after this date will face inspections of their mobile phones and computers. On April 26, China's Ministry of State Security announced the provisions on administrative law enforcement procedures and the provisions on procedures for handling criminal cases. This marks the first time these regulations on law enforcement procedures have been publicly released by the Ministry of State Security, and they are set to be implemented starting July 1st of this year. Notably, the provisions grant local law enforcement officials the authority to inspect electronic devices. Consequently, individuals entering China may undergo inspections of their smartphones or computers. It's important to note that according to official regulations, in cases of urgent necessity, law enforcement personnel, upon approval by the head of the National Security Agency at the municipal level or above, are authorized to conduct immediate inspections. To do so, they must present their police or investigative credentials. This development, along with recent discussions among overseas internet users regarding China's implementation of new secrecy laws, underscores the Communist Party's tight control over external communications and interactions. Some Chinese netizens have reported that the local communities are conducting special investigations into residents with overseas connections. In some cases, individuals known as the grid surveyors are visiting residents with such ties. This situation easily brings to mind the Cultural Revolution era when individuals with overseas connections were treated as adversaries. As a person of Chinese descent, even if you are abroad and haven't returned to China, your relatives in China may be under surveillance by security authorities. And if you do return to China, these national security agencies won't overlook you. In China, law enforcement leans towards being rigorous rather than lenient, with enforcement of two regulations starting from July 1st, granting authorities the right to conduct inspections. It's likely that, given the prevailing strict atmosphere under the Chinese Communist Party, there will be a widespread expectations of inspections for everyone. Recently, more and more overseas netizens have been complaining that even if Chinese nationals who have neutralized in foreign countries return to mainland China and comply with official requirements to register at the local police station, they are still summoned for questioning or subject to surveillance. This reflects the current political atmosphere in China, where there is a deliberate or inadvertent campaign to regard overseas Chinese as subjects for surveillance. Therefore, if you plan to visit China, especially if you are a Chinese national residing overseas, you should be extra cautious. Okay, let's refocus. I'll discuss an analysis of a report by Radio Free Asia with you. They interviewed Wang Weiluo, a hydrology expert resides in Germany. Wang Weiluo, a scientist, has extensively researched flood control and prevention in China. However, he also has a profound understanding of Chinese politics. In this interview, he mainly talks about the characteristics of Xi Jinping's rule, which is quite fascinating. Research on Xi Jinping remains insufficient among the public. Presently, the rationale analysis of Xi Jinping's leadership is primarily conducted by Western media outlets like The Economist. However, there is a dearth of systematic analysis in most of China's public discourse, including some overseas perspectives and even certain Western viewpoints regarding Xi Jinping's governing traits or his overreaching goals for China's future. Wang Weiluo offered intriguing insights into 5 aspects of Xi Jinping's leadership traits. It's definitely worth exploring for everyone. He addresses the first issue, pointing out that although Xi Jinping's governing approach differs from that of Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao, there are fundamental similarities. While many highlight the distinctions between Xi Jinping and his predecessors, they overlook the collective foundation of the CCP. According to Wang Weiluo, the primary commonality among Xi Jinping, Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao's rule is the pursuit of controlling Chinese society, achieving through hostage-like tactics. This represents the CCP's governing style, the essence of its rule, which doesn't vary significantly. It simply places emphasis on different aspects in minor ways. This perspective is significant. Xi Jinping isn't an outlier within the Chinese Communist Party. He merely emphasizes certain aspects or priorities more strongly. In the second aspect, Wang Weiluo discusses how Xi Jinping strengthens his grip on power. Mao Zedong had his tactics, like leveraging class struggle and the Cultural Revolution to consolidate his authority. Deng Xiaoping had his strategies. So, how does Xi Jinping bolster his control over China? Wang Weiluo simplifies it, stating that Xi Jinping is direct and forceful. Unlike Mao Zedong, who championed specific ideologies, or Deng Xiaoping, who emphasized particular theories, Xi Jinping exercises control in a straightforward manner. Whatever works best for him, the more specific, the more better. Wang Weiluo outlines that Xi Jinping has consolidated power in 5 key areas. Firstly, he has a firm grip on the military, ensuring control over armed forces. Secondly, he controls propaganda, influencing media narratives. Thirdly, he oversees the judiciary and law enforcement, maintaining authority over legal matters. Fourthly, he manages finance, personally overseeing financial affairs rather than delegating to the State Council. Lastly, he regulates the internet and social media content by censoring posts. Summarizing these 5 aspects of power consolidation reveals Xi Jinping's approach to controlling China. He doesn't rely on ideological authority, but instead focuses on acquiring tangible power. Whether he is respected by the people is secondary. His primary goal is to secure authority first. Despite being subject to ridicule, such as being called Xi the Bold or mocked for his supreme leader status, Xi Jinping understands that by controlling the military, media, judiciary, finance, and internet censorship, he can shape the destiny of the nation. Unlike Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping, Xi Jinping prioritizes the acquisition of actual power. According to Wang Weiluo's observations, the most significant difference between Xi Jinping's rule in China and that of his predecessors is Xi's lack of a clear objective. No one knows what he aims to achieve. His goals are extremely vague. If we look back at Xi Jinping's statements regarding his governing objectives, there seems to be only 2 phrases: "Never forget your original intention" and "Chinese dream." The meaning of "never forget your original intention" is unclear, and it's uncertain what he envisions for the Chinese dream and how the dreams of over 1 billion Chinese people can address any issues. Xi Jinping doesn't seem to be concerned about that. Never forget your original intention and the Chinese dream are his objectives. Xi Jinping also doesn't distinguish between long-term, medium-term, and short-term goals, unlike Mao Zedong, who pursued a particular ideology, or Deng Xiaoping, who sought a specific theory. Xi Jinping simply rolls up his sleeves and gets to work. This is quite interesting. As the leader of such a large country and a political figure, he doesn't rely on any particular ideology or theory. Instead, he sets vague goals and consolidates power through 5 aspects to control China. As a result, his governance efficiency remains remarkably high. The 4th characteristic of Xi Jinping's governance is his propensity for continuous errors. Xi Jinping appears unconcerned about his repeated mistakes. Chinese netizens residing in China can attest to this firsthand. Whatever he undertakes often ends in unfinished or flawed outcomes. Whether it's hitting the brakes or accelerating, examples abound. In the 5th aspect, Wang Weiluo's observation remains astute. Xi Jinping's governance possesses a characteristic that blurs the line between strength and weakness. Contrasting with Mao Zedong, Mao maintained certain traditional literati principles. For instance, he convened a meeting of 7,000 people and publicly acknowledged the mistakes of the Great Leap Forward, engaging in self-criticism during the session. Mao also led the party in self-examination, addressing the famine resulting from the Great Leap Forward. While historians later debated the sincerity of Mao's self-criticism, even if it was merely symbolic, it suggests that Mao still upheld certain standards. Similarly, Deng Xiaoping acknowledged his errors, delivering the Southern Tour speech to rectify his course. Despite opposing bourgeois liberalization and suppressing the student movement during the June 4th incident, he sought a way to save face. The Southern Tour speech represented Deng Xiaoping's attempt to adjust his political stance. So, does Xi Jinping admit his mistakes? This is where Xi Jinping is quite unique. On one hand, he's adept at leaving projects unfinished, adept at switching between acceleration and the reverse, and everything he does seems to fail. However, he doesn't follow a straightforward path to the end, as people might expect. Instead, he constantly adjusts and corrects himself, which is quite frustrating for everyone. If he was stubbornly driving in reverse, as some Chinese people say, they would cheer for him, applaud him, urging him to accelerate the reversal and hasten the collapse of the Communist Party, which would liberate Chinese people sooner. But Xi Jinping is flexible. He keeps making mistakes, but he also fails at doing bad things. For ordinary people living in China, this might be a silver lining amidst the misfortune. If he were to fully commit to every bad deed, it might hasten the collapse of the Communist Party. But for the ordinary people living in China, it could become an unnecessary cost and a sacrifice imposed by Xi Jinping. So Xi Jinping's flexibility and vacillation may reduce suffering, but it could also delay the downfall of the CCP. Therefore, this issue is quite intricate. Xi Jinping isn't the reckless, blunt ruler we might simplistically envision. He possesses his own sense of dramatics. A prime example is his handling of the real estate market. When he realized the growing real estate bubble in China could lead to a financial crisis and the collapse of the entire financial system, he promptly introduced measures like restricting property speculation and setting 3 red lines for the real estate market. However, when the real estate market stagnated, impacting GDP and his perceived governance legitimacy, he swiftly reversed course. He relaxed the policies allowing property speculation again, lifting home purchase restrictions and even encouraging the purchase of third homes in Beijing. Xi Jinping's adaptability isn't about navigating between correctness and error. Initially, when he cracked down on property speculation, emphasizing houses are for living, not speculation, some might have credited him with correctness. However, his reinstatement of property speculation lacks legitimacy. Xi Jinping's flexible approach isn't about choosing between right and wrong. It's about preserving his dictatorship and personal power. While he displays agility, he lacks a clear direction towards reform or openness. His flexibility primarily serves to stabilize his dictatorship. Therefore, he can't be equated with Mao Zedong's self-criticism or Deng Xiaoping's Southern Tour speech in terms of addressing mistakes or correcting course. Certainly, Mao Zedong wasn't exactly known for oscillating between correctness and error. He also acted to uphold his dictatorship. However, unlike Xi Jinping, Mao didn't exhibit the same frequency of shifts. It appears Xi Jinping lacks the cultural reverence typically associated with the Chinese literati. He appears indifferent. Today, he contradicts yesterday, and tomorrow he will contradict today without any apparent psychological burden. Thus, he emerges as a very peculiar leader, a very peculiar figure indeed. The consolidation of these 5 characteristics provides valuable insights into Xi Jinping. Painting Xi Jinping with a simplistic brush or assigning him a single label does little to accurately assess China's present circumstances. I trust these summaries and explanations will also enhance your understanding of Xi Jinping and today's China. Thank you for watching. Please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then,